Good evening, Professor. I hope you're doing well. Let's see. The overview of the West Maritime's exploration to the New World in the motives of the European maritime exploration. The one question I had is about the involvement of the Moors. If I don't remember wrong, just kind of summarizing stuff. Spain had at the time barely kicked the Moors out of its continent. It's the Iberian Peninsula, and as a result, I remember that, if I'm not wrong, the Moors were either forced to convert, leave, or be killed. That much said, considering that at the time there was a lot of traveling between the two worlds, and for the most part was either the ultra rich and the mostly poor that got embarked in this adventure. What kind of information is there about the Moors population in Spain at the time, or the converts to Christianity, being part of the people that actually came to the New World, either as sailors or as slaves themselves? Vasco da Gama's around Africa tour. I'm sorry. My question is, considering that Portugal and Spain were two countries that were one at a time, and they shared a lot of cultural ties from before, why was it that Portugal was more concerned with doing trade and creating trading posts, as is different than Spain, who seemed more concerned with colonizing? I guess it kind of catches my attention because they both seem to have cultural ties and similar backgrounds. Is it the size of the kingdom, or is it just the fact of the two Spanish king, the queen, the king and the queen, being more interested in doing expanding the Christian faith into the New World, not just interested in doing trade? Just kind of, I guess my question is, how much the perspective of the different kings of the different two countries had to do with all this? Christopher Columbus, his letters or journal that we read this week, one of the things that caught my attention is the perspective that he had. He seemed to honestly care about the indigenous people, but for other reasons that I read before, depending a little bit more as a person that was more interested in becoming wealthy. But the journal seems to portray him as a person that was somewhat, at least, concerned and interested in the well-being of the native population. Is that true, or is that just, it happens to be my general impression being wrong? Trying to figure out what else we have here. The exchange in pictures was some interesting stuff. I read about that before. Did not realize the effect the sheep had in the Americas. Now, I guess my question that's always bugged me about this is, I understand that the European population brought different disease, but my question has always wondered, why didn't the opposite take place? I would have to imagine that at one point or another there were diseases that originated in the Americas that will make themselves present in the European population, but it seems that it was just one-way street, that the conditions only came from the European side to the Americas, and the vice versa. That was not true. Considering that the continent had been out for a while, you might imagine that certain conditions and disease had to have originated in the Americas. At least that's what would make sense. At least one kind of disease, and then it made its way out into European and Eurasia population. But it just caught my attention that it's just one way, not the other way around. Everything else seems to be a two-way street when it comes to fruit, certain animals, I guess. So just kind of trying to figure out why. Well, what's the reasoning before, or the historical facts behind no major disease coming from the Americas to the Europeans? Bartolomé de las Casas, I guess to wrap it up, interesting reading. I read about him and his condition. Is it Was this just a perspective from the friars, the Franciscan friars, and the Dominican friars at the time, or were there any other prominent Spaniard or Portuguese non-Christian members who were actually also trying to help the Native American population at the time? And that's pretty much it. Thanks for your time. Talk to you next week.